for the glory of old state, for her founder strong and great, for the future that we wait. Raise the song, raise the song.
Sing our love and loyalty,
Sing our hopes that bright and free.
rest, O Mother dear, with thee, all with thee, all with thee.
Where else would you rather be? I'm Paul Clifford, CEO of the Penn State Alumni Association, and welcome to the Penn State Alumni Association's People of Penn State podcast. Each week on the podcast, you can expect to hear the voices of Penn Staters talking about what they're passionate about, and you can expect to feel the pride and the power of the Penn State Network. You can find the People of Penn State podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or your podcast app of choice. Subscribe and give us a rating. Ratings and reviews are the best way to help other Penn Staters find this podcast. And so we hope you go out and give us a rating and a review. Well, today I'm joined by U.S. Air Force First Lieutenant, NFL cheerleader, entrepreneur, Haley McClain Hill. I'm excited to welcome her into the People of Penn State podcast. Welcome, Haley.
Hi, y'all. How you doing, Paul?
I'm doing fantastic. It's so good to see you. I know it's an early morning recording with you out on the West Coast. I'm so grateful that you got up to join us for the People of Penn State podcast.
Of course. Anything for you, Paul.
So let's start at the very beginning. How did you become a Penn State Nittany Lion?
Wow. I actually had this whole thing in my head about Penn State where I didn't even want to go because I was born in Virginia, raised in Pennsylvania, and everywhere I went, there's a Penn State logo. The Nittany Lion was everywhere in my high school, and all my teachers went to Penn State, and I'm the type of person who likes to go off-roading kind of when it comes to life. So I was like, I want to go to Florida. I want to go to California, try to do something different. And I actually was starting to look into college, saw that there was an ROTC scholarship. My grandmother was 20 years Air Force, so she kind of put the Air Force in my head and said, hey, look at this ROTC program. You can get a full ride scholarship. Why don't you look into this? So I said, okay, applied, and I got a full ride to any in-state school. So she was like, okay. And my family was like, okay, you can go to a Florida school and pay for in-state tuition there, but still have to pay a lot because we're an out-of-state student. Or we can go check out Penn State. Let's just go check it out. I know you don't want to do it. And I was like, oh, okay. So we had a couple of friends that went there, spent the night. Let's just say I was sold the first night. So I went and applied right away. That's my Penn State story.
That's amazing. I know you're a native of Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. There's a heavy Penn State influence up there. We have a head football coach who spent some time in the Stroudsburg area during his college years. We'll maybe talk a little bit more about him in a couple minutes, but you were really involved here at Penn State, right? We know the Air Force ROTC schedule is a rigorous schedule, but you got involved in so many other things while you were here at Penn State. What are some of those things that kept you active while you were a student here?
Sure. So I was a part of the Penn State cheerleading team. I was on the team for 4 years. I did 5 years at Penn State. So my 5th year, I was asked to come back as the assistant coach because my eligibility was up, and I definitely had an incredible time with that. That was my heart and soul. We could talk cheer all day long. I was also a math major, was involved in a couple clubs. Let's see. I did a little bit with Thon. Wasn't huge into Thon. I was so busy with the other things I was doing, ROTC and everything. It was just like I tried to be involved as much as possible, but everyone's so dedicated to it, so I fit in where I could there. And then, yeah, I mean, the biggest thing was just cheer and ROTC, I would say.
Yeah, and those are two huge commitments, right? I mean, what a lot of people don't realize is that cheer is a lot more than just showing up at the game and doing stunts and cheering, right? It's not only supporting the other student athletes at Penn State, but you all are also student athletes that have your own competitions. Tell us a little bit more about the national competitions that you were able to compete in while you were here.
Absolutely. Oh, and before I forget, I was also a part of the Penn State Nittany Lion Council, where we would get together and chat about game day experience and all that stuff. I forgot about that. That was towards the end of my experience.
Shout out to PJ Mullen.
Yes, PJ, the absolute best. So yes, Penn State cheerleading is will go down to UCA. Oh, did I lose you?
No, you're good. You're good.
Well, we would go down to UCA Nationals every year. So that's Universal Cheer Association competition. And that is a huge national competition where all of the big colleges from around the US come, and around the world. Actually, there's a world's competition down there. All different countries come and we compete. Competitive cheerleading is huge. We're in the all-star world in high school. You would go and competitively compete, and that's usually where a lot of the students from the Penn State cheer team come from. So high school cheerleading, depending on your school, is great, but all-star is where you kind of get that travel experience, everything, and like the really very competitive, phenomenal athletes. So when they come to Penn State, we basically have our regular game day season. We cheer volleyball, men's and women's volleyball. We cheer men's and women's hockey. We cheer men's and women's basketball. We cheer football. We've dabbled in some soccer games. We do it all. We go to all of the pep rallies. We go to student events, anything, alumni events. And then we're also training at the same time. We have practice every day for 2 hours and after school. And then at the end, I think it's like January, whatever, we go down to Florida, Disney World, and we have 2 minutes to prove that, you know, we've been kind of focusing on this one routine, and that's kind of where, yeah.
So, Haley, you come to Penn State, you get super involved as a student, you represent the brand as a cheerleader, but you got to perform in some of the greatest venues in college sports, right? You were on the field at the Rose Bowl, right? The Big Ten championship, the whiteout, 110,000 people in Beaver Stadium. What is it like to have had those experiences, not only representing Penn State, but doing it on the biggest stage?
You know, I can't even put it into words at this point. I am so thankful. Curtis White, Eugene Bowden, Jess Chelick, they have given me the opportunity to basically see places that I would never have ever thought I could. So the Rose Bowl, I've never been to California before that. Just being there, being a part of the parade, it's something so historic. It's something I can just tell everyone. I'm like, oh, the only other time I lived in California was when I was in the Rose Bowl. And they're like, what? Okay. I'm like, yeah. And I mean, just that experience, traveling to Chicago for the Big Ten tournaments, down to Florida. I cheered in the Big House in Michigan. I mean, right. I don't love them, but it was a really awesome experience. I think that the opportunities that they give these students, and for us to be ambassadors, and for the people that we get to meet also when we're going to these places, we're not just, you know, behind the scenes, just students going to games. Like, we are involved, fully immersed. The people that we met in the Alumni Association, the people that we get to build those bonds with, the presidents of the United States, of the university. It's incredible who we get to meet and what we get to do. I'm very thankful.
This is the People of Penn State podcast. I'm Paul Clifford. I'm joined this morning by U.S. Air Force First Lieutenant, NFL cheerleader, and entrepreneur, Haley McClain. So, Haley, let's talk about your time after Penn State, and let's first dive into your service to our country. After Penn State, what did your Air Force journey look like?
Absolutely. So after ROTC, I commissioned as a second lieutenant, and I applied for a program called Gold Bar Recruiting. So if you guys don't know, the rank of a second lieutenant is a gold bar. And basically, I was tasked with recruiting new students into the ROTC program. So the Air Force does a lot of initiatives with recruiting, and this was one where they put us actually in cities to help the diversity of the officer ranks. So becoming an officer, you know, you have to go through a commissioning program, and that's either the academy, that is an ROTC program, or that is officer training school. So when there's a lot of students out there that have no idea about ROTC, because the academy is like, oh, you went to the Air Force Academy and this is so prestigious and everything, and they don't know that there's another option where you can be a regular student and be a cadet and become a second lieutenant just like somebody else. So who went to the academy. So the goal of our recruiting program, you actually put down your top 3 cities that you'd like to go. And again, like I told you, I love to travel. I love to be kind of in the mix of everything. So this program was perfect for me. I didn't want to be stationed in some random Air Force base. So I was like, yes, I definitely want to be in the middle of a city. So they put me in Atlanta, Georgia. I wanted Miami. But they were like, do you speak fluent Spanish to connect with those students down there for recruiting? I said, absolutely not. I speak a little bit, but nothing fluent. So my friend actually got it down in Miami. And it's funny, I was recruited by the Miami Dolphins cheer team at the Penn basketball tournament, I think when we were in Chicago. And they were like, hey, if you end up getting stationed in Miami, come on down to tryouts and we'll push you to the final round. So I was excited, and then the Air Force was like, you're going to Atlanta. And at first I was bummed, but then I saw the incredible, I've never been to Atlanta either. So I went down there, tried out for the team, and I cheered there. And I was only there for 1 year. It was a 1-year assignment. And then they moved me out here to California. I've been out here for about 2.5, 3 years now.
So let's talk about that. You get approached at the Big Ten tournament by the Miami Dolphins. Mm-hmm. Was that the first time you thought, boy, I can cheer after Penn State? Like this can be a professional thing for me?
It really was actually, Paul. Like I had no idea. I know girls that are like, I want to cheer for this team for my entire life. And that's kind of been I've heard that story when it comes to Penn State. I've heard that story when it comes to professional cheering. And that was never my goal. And when they came up to me and I was like, oh, they're like, yeah, we love how you cheer. We love your tumbling. We love all of your skills. And I was like, oh, I guess I can do something like this. And I was sold on the NFL cheerleading world.
And so what does that world look like? I know that there's like a lot of misperceptions about what it means to be an NFL cheerleader, right? I think there's that we kind of glamorize really what that experience is. And I know it's a fantastic experience, but give us kind of the behind the scenes of what it means to be an NFL cheerleader. You were an Atlanta Falcons cheerleader.
Absolutely. Professional cheerleading is one of the most competitive things you can ever do. It is, and it's funny, we call ourselves cheerleaders, but we really are professional, I would say, dancers more. There's all different styles of dance, and each team has their own style. So when you're trying out for a team, the first thing you want to do is research. And there's teams from Dallas Cowboys, right, who have they're very kick line. I'm sure you kind of think about that. They're the stars of the NFL cheerleading world, have their own show, very prestigious. They are the top of the top of the top, I would say, when it comes to the interview process, what they're looking for. In Atlanta, they are a very prestigious program also. You basically have a week to show them who you are as a person. You have to have danceability, but you also have to have this, they kind of say this wow factor about you that makes you stand out. When I tried out, there were about 350 girls that tried out, and they're picking for 10 slots because it's kind of like there's veterans and there's rookies on the team, just like with the NFL. So there's going to be veterans that you know that they're probably going to take back, and then they have like some that are going to be leaving. So depending on the year, they can only have 2 slots available, and there's 300 girls trying out. So when I tried out for Atlanta, they had just built the stadium, and a lot of girls had cheered that year before in the brand new drop top stadium, and now they're ready to leave. So it was a great year. It's a great year. But with the 300 girls trying out, you had to stand out. So my wow factor is always that I'm a United States Air Force officer. And they're just like, what? There's only been a couple other that have done that. But I'm telling you, Paul, the caliber of women that try out for these teams, it's not just a pretty face. It is not just these girls that come in here and they're like, oh, I want to just, dance and meet a player. Like, it's complete opposite. There's lawyers, doctors, there's university teachers. I'm currently cheering for the 49ers right now, and there's women on there. They're they're neuroscientists, they're phenomenal entrepreneurs. And these women, they have to have that wow factor about them to stand out, and that's what they're looking for. You dance, but you're also a phenomenal woman all around.
Yeah, exactly. My perception has been that you say it's more dance than cheer. I would argue because of all the extracurricular things that you're involved in outside of the stadium, right? That you're more brand ambassadors for the organizations that you represent. You're really active in the community, and it's the best of the best, like you've described, right? These are talented women. Outside of the cheerleading uniform as well. And so and look, I had no doubt that you had the wow factor going into that profession. I mean, if it wasn't the US Air Force, it would have been something else that opened the door for you.
Oh, thank you. Oh, yeah.
I think about your life though, and how crazy it has to be balancing service in the Air Force, which is regimented, right? It's not one of the more flexible organizations in the world, right? It's they run like clockwork. Did finding balance as a student athlete at Penn State, has that helped you in your life after Penn State in order to keep your time with time management? And how do you find the time to, complete your service in the Air Force, launch companies, right? Cheer for the 49ers and the Falcons. How are you able to do it all?
It's funny. I've been doing a lot of mentoring and trying to get a lot of mentors, either whether that's in the Air Force, whether that's just really successful business women. And I ask this question every single time to them, like, how do you balance it all? They're moms, they're like CEOs of $1 million companies. I mean, they're constantly doing something. And it's funny, it feels like the world is shifting into a lot of people kind of are doing multiple things. They're trying to pursue their passions and they're trying to, find that stability. For me, Penn State definitely helped with my time management, balancing being a normal student, being a normal just woman, trying to figure her way out. She's young. Dating, hey, it's just like there's so many things that you kind of have to put your different hats on. And what I would say is that if you want to do something, you're going to find the time. If you same with relationships, right? If you enjoy being around somebody, you're going to find the time for them. And I don't find that, too busy is an excuse. It's bottom line, yes, there's some crazy days that I come home and I'm like, holy crap, like, why am I doing this to myself? I'm like driving to the Bay Area, coming back to Sacramento, driving up to the Bays, coming back, dealing with, regular life. And I absolutely love what I do, and you find the time. And I've been trying to figure out the balance. I'm 26, and I'm like, all right, maybe in a couple of years when I mature a little bit, I'll figure out a better life-work balance right now. But it's just go, go, go. But I'm so passionate about what I do. It's just time kind of works for me in that sense. If that makes sense.
No, it absolutely does. And certainly I admire the hustle, right? This is the time in your life where you should be trying 1,000 different things and seeing what works for you, right?
Exactly.
You mentioned the relationships, and that's probably for a different podcast, but it's strikes me that you bring that up because I think a lot of what you do in your life, at least outside looking in, is about helping other people and the relationships and the experiences that you share with other people. And I think seems like it might be a driving force behind the new business that you're launching. You're launching a new clothing line called Torch. Tell us a little bit more about the people that you hope to help through this clothing line that you're launching.
Absolutely. And Paul, you hit it right on. I have always valued relationships over, technical experience or me being the best at knowing something or whatever. I mean, by far, I'm not the best NFL cheerleader. I wasn't the best Penn State cheerleader or anything like that. But I always formed very genuine relationships, and I cared so deeply about everyone that I came across, whether that was my teammate, whether that was my coach, whether that was the fans, anybody. And I think people should really put more of an emphasis on that in life. And that's kind of what I'm trying to bring out in my brand. So Torch, one day, I was waking up from, I was going to work, and I just was in this kind of funk, like a little of this funk. And sometimes you get like that in the world, and I realized that the Air Force, it's so great, it's phenomenal, but like you said, it's very regimented. It's very, it's very uniform. And like I told you, like I said multiple times, I like to stand out a little bit. I like my authentic self. I like that I'm one of the few female, minority officers on my base, and I'm just another kind of uniform every single day. Put it on the same uniform, boom, 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 washing it here and there, of course, but it's just like, it just gets very mundane. And I love fashion. I'm a cheerleader. I'm girly. I'm very not typical of, military women. But I was noticing when you go on, TikTok is huge right now. I was seeing all these transformations, right? You see military women, they'll put their hand and then they come back and they're in their regular clothes and they're gorgeous. They're beautiful, phenomenal women. And I'm like, why can't we feel, confident and beautiful and different and authentic and more womanly in our uniforms? And so I came up with the idea of turning our undershirts that we wear under our uniforms. They're t-shirts, kind of baggy. We have to tuck them in every single day. They're so annoying. And I turn them into bodysuits. So they have a snap closure. They stay tucked in. And I also embroidered the word fearless on the side of it. So just trying to add that extra touch where you're about to go into that huge meeting with that commander and you know that you have something on that is you, and you are fearless. And I try to live my life very fearlessly and just going full force into it. And you're not just another body. You're not just another number. You are this phenomenal woman. And there's nothing like this out there for us. There's nothing. It's all these companies, manufacturers, in the tactical world, it's all men. There's really not a lot of out here trying to make, there's women cut, there's women, there's some things that they try to do, like flight suits for women, but nothing specifically for us where we can go in on base and be like, wow, we are building a community. We are all over the world, and we need to start building that type of community to come together. I've realized I'm not Penn State anymore, right? I have this phenomenal alumni association. I have this phenomenal people that I've met, and I feel very secure, and I feel very like I have people behind me. But a lot of these women in the military, they don't have that huge. A lot of people who didn't go to Penn State don't have that huge body of people that they can go to a chapter anywhere in the world. And I wanted to kind of produce that for women. So that's really the concept behind the bodysuit and the clothing brand. And it's kind of marrying my love for fashion, my love for, my femininity, my love, but also my love for service into one.
Yeah, and what I love about the product line is that it's designed kind of with the military woman in mind, but it has it can be applied across many professions, right? And so you could just I'm thinking nurses, I'm thinking folks who work outdoors all day and don't want that t-shirt that they can't tuck in, right? And so there's many applications beyond just the military family that you've designed this for. If people want more information about Torch and how they can get maybe their own fearless gear, how would they go about finding more information about it?
Absolutely. We're on Instagram at Torch by Haley Marie. And we're also we have a website, www.torchbyhaleymarie.com. We just finished taking pre-orders. We're going to be shipping those out any week now. And then we're going to be restocking very soon. So I'm really excited. And like you said, this is for modern day women warriors. So firefighters,
Right.
EMTs, women who are in law enforcement, any of the women today who are genuinely just, excuse my language, badass. And they are wearing that uniform every single day and laying their life down.
Absolutely. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can find those links on the bottom of the screen. If you're listening to the podcast, you can find the links in the show notes. So you mentioned that not everybody has the luxury of having the Penn State Alumni Network behind them, right? Not everyone has been blessed to go to Penn State. Talk about a little bit about how you've been able to connect with the alumni network now throughout your time away from Penn State.
Absolutely. When I was in Atlanta, I joined the Atlanta chapter and got a couple drinks with a couple people. It's hard. I'm very busy, but I try whenever I possibly can give back, whenever I can meet up, whenever I can get back to Penn State. I'm always reaching out. I'm always on all the Facebook pages. I'm constantly in contact with you and a couple of the other very prominent leaders from Penn State. I'm like, hey, what's going on? Business leaders, just trying to, social media is huge also, just being a part of all of that. But I'm hoping, and I don't know if I've shared, but I put in my separation for the Air Force. So I will be separating next year. And I fully intend on being heavily involved in the Alumni Association and getting back to Penn State as much as I possibly can. And through Penn State Cheerleading. We're doing a lot of networking events for the current students and giving back to the girls, showing them there's other options outside of cheerleading and how they can use their abilities to be successful in the real world too.
This is the People of Penn State podcast. I'm Paul Clifford. I'm joined by U.S. Air Force Lieutenant, NFL cheerleader, and entrepreneur, Haley McClain Hill. So, Haley, we'd like to have a little bit of fun at the end of the podcast where I just throw some quick hitter questions at you. So you just say the first thing that comes to mind when I ask you these questions.
Okay.
What was your favorite class at Penn State?
Women studies class.
How about if you could have dinner with anyone, who would it be and why?
Meghan Markle, because she's a princess and I want to be a princess.
That's great. And you know, Meghan's got a Penn State connection too. She grew up in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And there's been images with her wearing, I think it's a family connection to Penn State.
I saw that, and Paul, you better get her on the podcast because I need to be friends with her. Okay.
Oh my gosh, wouldn't that be great to have a princess on another princess on the podcast?
Another one, because we know I'm the princess of Penn State. Okay.
That's right. So you've traveled all around the world. You've represented the Penn State brand. Mm-hmm. What's your most unusual We Are moment? Maybe an unusual or unexpected place where you ran into a Penn Stater or you heard someone yell "We Are" to you.
Oh my gosh, I was in Hong Kong, China for the Atlanta Falcons.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we were there cheering in the Chinese New Year parade, the Year of the Pig. And I saw a guy with the Penn State shirt on in random in a little market. We were shopping for purses and stuff.
Right.
And I saw him, I was like, "You have got to be kidding me." And I swear I had that 3 times a day, anywhere I go.
That's amazing. That's amazing. How about your favorite Penn State sport?
Oh, obviously football. I decided the football team and the coach and the family. But I love Penn State basketball and I love Penn State gymnastics. Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah, I know your close connection to the Franklin family. I know you were able to get close to them and become personal friends now in your life after Penn State. So if Coach was listening to the podcast, he'd be really disappointed if he didn't pick football.
I know, but he knows my heart is, I love all freaking Penn State. I love it all.
How about your favorite flavor of creamery ice cream?
Cookie dough.
Cookie dough.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, Haley, I know it was an early morning for you to wake up and record this podcast with us, but I'm so grateful that you've allowed us to share your story today on the People of Penn State podcast.
Thank you so much, Paul, for having me. This is so much fun. I absolutely adore Penn State. You guys are my heart. We're freaking killing it this season. I'm so proud. And I am Penn State for life. If anyone needs anything, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm always here to help. Always.
Thank you so much. If you like this episode, I hope that you'll subscribe to the People of Penn State podcast in your favorite podcast app of choice. And while you're there, go ahead and give us a review and give us a rating, drop us a review. Help us spread the word and share the podcast to fellow Penn Staters via your social media channels. And make sure you tag the Penn State Alumni Association. If you're not a member of the Alumni Association, what are you waiting for? Go to our website at alumni.psu.edu, and you too can become a member of the world's largest alumni association. Thank you for listening and for all you do for the university, for the glory, and for the future. We are.
When we stood at childhood's gate, didst mold us, dear old state, dear old state, dear old state. May no act of ours bring shame to one heart that loves thy name. May our lives but swell thy fame,
Dear old state,
dear